Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Toon Review on this Sunday evening. Of course, slightly earlier than what we normally kick off our shows, but Alex has night shift tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So it is to help him along the way a little bit. But I hope you've had a good weekend, everybody. Not such a great match yesterday. We'll get into that very soon, of course. Currently, Tottenham are beating Man City, which isn't the kind of score that we want.
Tottenham always beat Man City, let's be honest.
Yeah, 75 minutes gone, and it's still 1-0 to Spurs, which doesn't really help us in any shape or form. But never mind. Anyway, we'll have a look at some comments first of all. We've got Tom Lynch, good evening. Alexandra, good evening to you. Michael, Anders says, I'm not sure we can keep Brighton and Brentford behind in the league. We have one of the worst points totals since the winter break. Something like 1 win in 5 or something. I think it's goals wise, we're not doing great at all. But we'll come on to that. Toon Wembley says, evening all. Feel sorry for Maxi, as it's clear to see he just doesn't fit our system. We looked so much better when Gordon came on.
We're also unbeaten since the winter break, so it just depends how you spin that narrative. It really does. It depends on which way you're standing.
Yeah, but we haven't looked good, in all honesty, the last few games. We haven't played with our normal selves, really. It's been a little bit disappointing. But hey, if this is our blip for the season, I'll quite happily take this as a blip. You know what I mean? Completely different story. Paul Sprague says, hi guys, Eddie has to start making changes to the starting 11. 2 goals in the last 5 league games just won't cut it in the league or the cup final. Jason says, who would you have started yesterday? Personally, I think we need to look at different formations, and teams are figuring us out. We did speak about that yesterday, Billy, during the commentary as well, and said that, maybe a formation change is what's needed because, Jason might be right there. Teams are starting to look at Newcastle and probably working us out a little bit because it's the same over and over again.
If teams defend deeply against us, we find it hard to break them down. We don't have the creativity to sort of break teams like that down now, with Bruno being out especially. And it becomes apparent we need to go on and get our wingmen into the game more and get them into it quicker. I don't think a formation change is necessarily the right way to go. We've trained like this for how long now, and it's system to change system now would be criminal and suicidal, in my opinion. It might not go right, and chances are it isn't going to go right. I haven't played this way for so long, so I think the system's okay. I just think we need to get the ball out quicker to our wide men who are creative players at the minute. We've got Bruno in the side. It's not as important. But it's definitely important to do that when we haven't got Bruno in the side.
Well, this is how we lined up yesterday. It was as you guys pretty much predicted in the previous show. Pope, Trippier, Schär, Botman, Byrne, Longstaff, Willock and Joe Linton in midfield, and the front three of Almiron, St Maximin and Callum Wilson. The bench wasn't exactly as strong as possible. The 3 substitutes who we thought would be probably coming on did, in the shape of Anthony Gordon, Jacob Murphy, and of course Elliot Anderson, who Eddie Howe had been bigging up during the week. The first 5 minutes, Alex, it got going, didn't it? I mean, we could have been 2-0 up. Unfortunately, it was just out for Miggy when Willock scored. And then, of course, we go and, from that resultant goal kick, we win the ball back in midfield. Joe Linton does well to win it back. Longstaff plays a magnificent ball through for Callum Wilson, and he finishes it. And then you're thinking we should go on and get more, but it didn't happen like that, did it? After the 5 minutes, West Ham took over.
Yeah, I mean, this we've been seeing this for a while now. This is essentially almost a Liverpool problem to a point, although we don't have as many issues with the press. We're good at pressing. Where we come out like a bull in a china shop in the first 20 to 30 minutes, and it's brilliant because they don't have time to set. They're not focused yet, the opposition, and it works brilliantly. But then after sort of 50, 60, 70 minutes, Miggy's tried the same runs 3 times. Our other side's tried the same run 3 times. Wilson's tried the same run 3 times. They've tried the same through ball 3 times, the same set piece 3, and all of the opposition players are switched on to all the possible options of what's coming, like offensively, and we run out of creativity. We just run out of creativity, which is why when Maxi came on and got a red card, he won a red card with the foul. He looked really good. When Gordon came on, he looked really good, which is why a bit of energy and unpredictability coming on via our substitutes looks genius. It's not that it's genius. It's that those players themselves are a bit more unpredictable, and it's because the opposition aren't set. We are looking a little bit too predictable. And we've talked about we have seen the coaching staff try and improve it. There are different, Trippier and Miggy are trying slightly different combinations from time to time. The set pieces are being mixed up. You can see the coaches are aware and they're trying to keep the opposition guessing, but it is a little bit too predictable. And we are relying too heavily on a bit of Trippier magic or a bit of Bruno magic with just that disgusting through ball or that crazy bit of creativity. So the first 20 to 30 minutes in the last month, I think, has been brilliant. In most games, the first 20 to 30 minutes is great because the opposition aren't ready for it. But then once we get into the long slog of the game, we do get predictable. And it's something we can only address through I think we need to start scoring a few more set pieces. If Dan Burn's in the side for that height, we need to start getting people on the end of these crosses sometimes.
Yeah.
Or if we're not going to score via set pieces, we need a little bit more creativity. And we've just not got that at the moment. Maybe Gordon will provide that across a 90-minute fixture, we'll hope.
Yeah, maybe. ADB, thanks for your £4.49 super chat. If we want a challenge, we need a deep squad, and that means keeping players like ASM. Billy, after that first 5 minutes, when we were watching it just got really sloppy, didn't it? I mean, the passing was poor, to say the least. Especially coming out of defence. I think all of them were guilty. All of the back four were guilty of giving the ball away very uncharacteristically throughout the first half. We just couldn't sort of get anything going.
Yes, and because of the defenders were losing the ball, we were under pressure constantly for 10 15 minutes, weren't we? And a lot of that's to do with the fact that Bruno wasn't available for them to pass to. They had to go long all the time, and a lot of it was aimless. It was a lot of it that was down to the fact that Bruno was missing, and Sean Longstaff doesn't offer that pass as much as Bruno does. And he's, the amount of time Bruno Guimaraes wins his free kicks coming out of defence, you don't notice it, but when he's not in the side, you really notice it because we were on constant pressure because the defenders were giving the ball away constantly.
Were you surprised at the rate we were giving it away, Alex? The passing, it was awful, really.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's really kind of long. This is difficult to say without offending Longstaff because I thought Longstaff was brilliant, as good as he could be. I thought he did fine, but this is noticeable in the England team as well. When Rice isn't good in a 6, Rice is great in a double pivot. He's not good in a 6. We had the same problems at the World Cup, and we had the same problems with Longstaff there in terms of it's just that it doesn't connect very well. The passing sequences aren't there. People aren't in the right positions to receive passes. They're not as confident at receiving passes. We saw that with Longstaff and Maxi as well. Underhit passes. It was a bit of underhit passes, a bit of people not stepping up to receive a pass. A lot of them were doing it. It just didn't quite flow as well. Although Longstaff had a good game for him, it's not Bruno. It's vastly underrated. It basically just highlights how good Bruno is. He does so much stuff that you don't notice. He's one of them sorts of players where, it's just the little body feints and how often he scans to then win a free kick or how often he scans to then drive into a bit of space and just keep the ball for us, take pressure off. And then not only he will do that, then play a killer ball on top of it or a great switch. It's a bit of everything mixed into one. And as good as Longstaff's been, he's playing at his potential, in my opinion. It's still not at Bruno's level, unfortunately. It's just we're just not going to be able to replace that.
Ab says the SM should start the next game. He needs a good run to get back to match fitness. I've seen a lot of comments today saying that Maxi didn't actually look fit yesterday. It's very interesting getting feedback from a lot of fans who were there and said that he just doesn't look quite at it yet.
I think it was more mentality. I think he was umming and ahhing about whether he should be defending or going or this or that. I think he's very much in his own head. Whereas when he came on as a sub, he came on, he was just like, right, run with the ball, run with the ball, run with the ball. Whereas when he started, I think he was just overthinking every decision, every pass, everything was.
Well, he's got to get that. He's got to get that out of his system because there's other players ready to jump right in.
I would agree. It would be fair to give him another game, but I mean, why not Gordon as well? I mean, Gordon's got a. With what he did when he came on, he's got a right to ask for a start, really, hasn't he?
Absolutely. Dean says another sloppy performance from Newcastle United. I'm sick to the back teeth of Willock. Willock's look, Willock. I mean, Billy, it's hard. Willock yesterday again. He was very, very frustrating a lot of the time, and it gave those sort of impressions that he was being lazy and not getting into 50-50 tackles. And but then when he started to come into the game in the second half, he's substituted, which we'll come on to that later on. But I mean, he is frustrating at the minute, Willock, isn't he? Because he can do something brilliantly like he did in the semi-final. Lovely move down the left-hand side with Big Joe, and then he'd just do something ridiculous. And then yesterday, very, very poor.
Yeah, we have no alternative to him. We're short on numbers in midfield. We have to play with Joe Willock because we have nobody else. You know, you look at the transfer window. This one we just passed. We actually weakened our midfield. We didn't strengthen it. It needed strengthening, and we actually weakened it. Yeah. So the question's got to be asked of the people that are involved in transfers here. I'm sure. Willock does. He flat has to deceive sometimes, but sometimes he's superb. He can be inconsistent in the one game, can't he? He can be superb for 5 minutes. Crap for the 10 minutes, brilliant for the 20 minutes after that. But while he's in that bit of what he's playing really well, that's when you give him the ball. And yesterday we took him off, which was, it seemed ridiculous to me.
Yeah, and then, of course, West Ham go and get an equaliser through, of course, Paqueta. Who else was going to score against Newcastle United yesterday? There's been some desperate claims on social media that it was offside. I'm not having it. There's no way you can give an offside there because if you look very, very carefully, when the ball is flicked on, Paqueta's not even on the pitch. His feet are off the field of play, so he's not offside. And then when it bounces around, he simply, for some reason, Trippier falls asleep, and then Paqueta moves out, gets the ball, scores a goal. No way was it offside at all. And it's bordering on desperation if we're going to try and shout for offside over them type of things. But it was poor defending, Alex, from the corner.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's allowed to make mistakes. Trippier's won us far more points than he will do. He will lose us this season.
Absolutely,
so it happens. I'm sure he's well aware it was a mistake. He will try not to do it again, as long as he keeps doing the right thing. More often than not. That's all we ask of people. Is that you're better than you are worse more often than not. That's why I had an issue with Lascelles, because I thought he was worse more often than he was good. He was capable of playing good games. He was good against Liverpool, even though we lost that game. He was very good against Liverpool, surprisingly, and then he's been poor in other performances since then. But as long as players give generally mostly good performances, this is where Willock's starting to come undone, where it's getting to the point where it's a bit sort of 60% good, 40% bad. That whereas it was sort of 80% good. Now it's that ratio starting to come back down.
It's changing,
where he's making a lot more mistakes, creeping into the game. And we need a bit of healthy competition. It's a shame we couldn't have had somebody like Gallagher in on loan, because that would have been a like for like similar player. Would have had nice healthy competition. Willock's only 23; he's allowed to make these mistakes, but. Yeah, it is what it is.
Well, the thing is, I mean, it's only going to get worse, Billy, because obviously, the more games we play, the more fatigued players are going to get, and that will ask the questions of why cover didn't come in. We were expecting. I think it's fair to say we were all expecting on deadline day. Yes, Anthony Gordon was signed, and yes, we brought Harrison Ashby in on the morning. But then you look at the rest of the day, and we all felt that a midfielder was going to come in, Billy, because it was just, it had to. When we knew Shelvey was going, we thought, right, well, we must have somebody to come in and replace him. We haven't, and it's left us very sparse.
And it's going to catch us out because these players play at a high energy, high tempo, 90 minutes all at the time. We're only using 14 players, 14, 15 players. Every other side in the league's using 17, 18, 19, 20 players. We're just using the 14, and sooner or later they're going to hit a wall. It looks to me like they're about to hit a wall now. Something needs to change, and they need to do it quick. I don't know how they're going to do it.
I think we're due right now. We could do with 13, 14 days in a warm weather training camp. That's what it looks like for us. We could. Yes. It looks like we're at that point, and unfortunately, we're not going to get one. We've just got to crack on with it.
Yep. Kendall says, funny, I'm looking back at the highlights. It looks like we could have won 3-1. Wilson could have had a hat-trick. Wes says Gordon was on fire. I think he'll do great. Devon says, if we were more clinical in the second half yesterday, we would have won yesterday. V says, hi, guys, just popping in to say hello. Won't be staying because I'm really not well, but wanted to at least show me face. Thanks, V. Get well soon, chick. Toon Rob says, Maxi was really poor. He's just not a team player. Evening, Jackie. Ab says it was probably our worst performance of the season, and it was still a draw. I mean, Billy, you said that yesterday. It was pretty much the worst performance that we've seen for a good long while. Yeah,
it was just the fact that we couldn't keep hold of the ball. We didn't look like we had any shape, any kind of way of breaking them down. When we did do it, we should have scored. We did. I mean, when we got to that situation where we should have scored, we didn't. Yeah, it was all round pretty poor at times, but at the times we played pretty well. But I thought the second half were much better than the first. I thought the first we were shocking after we scored.
Absolutely. We the second half started off a bit strange, didn't it? Because it started off like West Ham finished the first half. They were dominating us a little bit. The substitution was then made, and I thought after that we dominated the game. After that, with Anthony Gordon, he was wanting the ball much more than, dare I say, much more than Maxi did. I've seen a few interesting comments today saying that the notice that Maxi wasn't running to the ball. He was waiting for the ball to come to him instead of, Anthony Gordon moving to the ball. And that's what we've said in the past about players. We said it about Chris Wood a lot of the time, that he stood and waited for the ball.
Maxi and Willock did that. They both did that on 2 or 3 occasions, and it was frustrating. I don't know why. Especially, and then both of them throw their arms up as if it's the passing's fault.
Yeah.
Maybe the pass could have been a little bit harder, but you should step to the ball, surely.
There was a couple of passes yesterday that were off. There definitely was. We could see that, especially the first half. There was so many passes going right. However, it was disappointing. But Gordon came on, Alex, and he really did give something. You've already mentioned it there earlier on, but he's given Eddie Howe something to really think about now for the Bournemouth game. He just looked really, really hungry.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing like Maxi should be playing. He was picking up the ball with no fear, which is what we want. He's not in his own head. He picks up, fearless, drives the ball. He was having the same issues as Maxi in that he couldn't get out left because there's no help out left. There's no overlap. There's no fallback. There's nothing, absolutely nothing on that left side. And it needs to be addressed. It's doing my head in because even Gordon, as great as he is, was having to just drive central every time. Yeah. And then we were becoming predictable. The only good move that we could manage to pull off, and Gordon could pull off, it came from a transition on the right-hand side where he played through Callum Wilson. And that wasn't, whereas traditionally, he's not going to get that opportunity most of the time. Most of the time, he's going to be out on that left side if that's his position. And there was just, that left side it just doesn't function properly as it's set up. It's no surprise that both of them had issues on that left side. And Joe Linton makes it work because he's an absolute unit. So he kind of bypasses that somewhat. He can get past plays because he's massive and he's quite technical for his size. But the fact that all the wingers who are sort of wingy in stature have got to drive central is a problem. But that being said, that little burst of pace and through ball from Gordon was excellent. And I saw him say in an interview he thought he'd got an assist. He deserved an assist. It was a great ball. He definitely deserved an assist for that. That was brilliant.
Keith Bell says, hi, guys. Is this live? Well, I hope so, Keith. Otherwise, I don't know where we are inside this whole world we call the Matrix. Incredible Beard says, draws are a momentum killer. I'm not sure we need to change the system. We need to fit Isak playing and Gordon based on yesterday's cameo. Both players plus Bruno can bring that needed spark. William Wee says, Tyneside Life is back. Hope Eddie carries on. He's brilliant. Yeah, it's good to see Eddie back. He's a very, very good guy. Football Matters says, I've recently read that City are in for Maddison. Is this true, lads? It seems so. The summer's going to be quite the battle. 5 minutes of injury time, by the way, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And we're in the last couple of minutes of that, but there's I think a City player flat out on his back at the minute. Mike says, the system is fine. Formation is fine. We have been creating. The chances aren't being utilised. If we were boring and stagnant, I'd be more concerned.
I mean, to be fair, though, the XG for that game, I mean, it's changed since I looked at it yesterday on FOTMob. It's updated, but it's 1.01 to 1.01. Our XG is the same as West Ham's. So we didn't create more to deserve 3 points. 1-1 was a fair score based on the XG and based on how it went, really.
Yeah. I think it was a fair result. I don't think... I think we can be disappointed that, Callum, he missed those two opportunities, Billy, when, we'd expect at least one to go away. I mean, the header, straight to keeper, but when he's through... And I've read, I put a tweet out earlier today saying, should he have scored? And a lot of people are saying, well, when he broke away there, cut across the defender, cut across him and then go in on goal because the defenders then got to get round the other side and it would be too late by then. And Callum would normally do that, wouldn't he? I mean, when he hits that burst of pace.
Yeah, but he wasn't. I don't think he was expecting Aguero to be so rapid, to be honest. I mean, he fantastic bit of defending to get back. But I thought Wilson should have been more clinical. He should have cut across. He should have at least got a shot off, and he probably should have scored one-on-one with the keeper. But you've got to credit the defender for an absolutely superb bit of defending.
It was a really, really good bit of play. Samsonite says, can't say we could have been 2-0 up. The goal that started, the goal only came because, I suppose you're right. Yeah, I see what you're saying there. The second goal only came around from the goal kick. So, but, in theory, it was 2 goals. We did score twice. But I see what you mean by that. Football Matters says Mateus Franca would have been perfect. Keith says, my 2 cents. Guys looked hungover from the Saints game. Gordon looked promising. I think it reinforced the need for a midfielder, which we all know. Maybe a Maddison or Declan Rice in the summer. Alex, Declan Rice, pretty good yesterday.
He was rather good. I'd still rather go in a different direction because of the price. I'd rather we don't join that club of silly nonsense of paying. I mean, they've been quoting 150 million for God knows how long. It is beyond a joke. He is a great player. He's not a 150 million pound player. So I'm quite happy for us to go and try and be careful with our scouting and try and find another Bruno for the right positions at a fraction of the price. I don't want us to start unless it's a player that is guaranteed. Somebody like Bellingham is a different story because of his age. He's done it in international tournaments, Champions League, Bundesliga for several seasons now. He's the real deal. So if we're gonna start dropping that sort of cash, I'd rather it was on somebody a bit more guaranteed and top level. And Rice is a great player, but could we get somebody that performs? I mean, we got Bruno, and Bruno does similar to Rice things and costs 40. So why can't we do that again?
Well, it's finished, by the way. Tottenham have beaten Man City 1-0, so Man City have failed to capitalise on Arsenal losing yesterday. So it's as you were at the top of the Premier League. Manchester United are creeping into it, guys. You have to say. I know, we missed an opportunity yesterday. It's very interesting at the top of the table at the minute. It really is. James says, I don't want to be negative, but Tottenham are closing the gap. Going off the last performance, I can't see us holding on to 4th spot. I think when Bruno, Gordon and Isak start, we will be fine. Do they sit back or are we predictable? Interesting from Scott. David says they have to mix up free kicks. Trips launching it into the box every time is so predictable. Spacebar says, I don't think not getting a central midfielder may come back and bite us. The set pieces are a worry. The height we have, we don't score from corners is criminal. We said this during the watch along, Billy. We were seeing the same old. The corners, the free kicks, it was very much predictable again. West Ham really defended them with ease most of the time.
Yeah, they never looked like scoring from a set piece, really, did we?
No.
It is predictable. If you play it short, and sooner or later it's going to get to Trippier and he's going to bomb it in. It's always going to be Trippier crossing the ball in. Now, surely there's more than one man in that squad that can cross the ball. I just don't understand it. I don't understand it at all.
Miggy took some people down, got to the byline, but cut back because he's not right-footed, of course, didn't get the cross in. Trippier had a couple of opportunities, certainly first half, to get some crosses in, didn't. But then the corners never come to anything. And you think with you've got Cher in there, you've got Botman in there, you've got Dan Burn in there. Longstaff's not a small guy. There's just, for some reason, we're not getting on the end of any corners. So it begs the question, what are we doing in training to improve these set pieces? Because we're not seeing any change, Alex.
Well, at the risk of throwing shade at existing coaching staff, I think we need an additional set piece coach because it's not working. We're one of the biggest teams, if not probably the biggest team in the league, I would imagine. With the defenders plus Joe Linton, we've got to be one of the biggest teams in the league. We're just not scoring at all from set pieces. the Fabian Cher had a good opportunity. It was probably the only good set piece opportunity we had, and that he got a 0.28 xG from that. That was the one he skied over the bar. It was a bit close to him. It was a bit quick, but even so, we just got to be capitalizing on it. And at this point, we are seeing variations of free kicks and variations of corners. Fair enough. We might get a bit of a difference because obviously Gordon does do set pieces. He did them for Everton a bit. So maybe Gordon will come into play. If he ends up starting, he might take some of the pressure off Trippier. And you're right, we were far too predictable. There was one specific corner routine yesterday where Trippier nearly got charged down because they just knew it was going to him from the play. We just need some more options with the set pieces, with the takers. And I'm not blaming Trippier. A lot of the deliveries are really good. Most of the deliveries are pretty good from Trippier. The lads need to be scoring. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. They need to be on. Cher's got one. Burns got one in the cup. So in the league, we've got Cher. That's it. From set piece sort of headers, that kind of thing. We've got Cher, and Cher's wasn't from a set piece. It was a screamer at Forest. So in terms of headed contributions from set pieces being centre halves, Burns on 0, Botman's on 0, Cher's on 0. In terms of scoring with your head from set pieces, it's not good enough at this point. Really, we could do with a little bit of a boost. Absolutely.
Dean says it doesn't help when journalists don't ask Eddie Howe the tough questions. Jackie, good evening to you. Gaza Jesus, had a look for you, Paul, Tuesday night and yesterday in your normal place. You weren't in there. No, I wasn't. I wasn't at the game yesterday. I did the watch along. Family commitments. Family commitments. Actually, just wanted to have a bit of time with the family yesterday. And Tuesday, I was up in the box. So I wasn't in my normal season tickets. And a big thank you to Andy Young again for that. Superb enjoyment I had on Tuesday night at the game. It was brilliant. I've seen a lot of people rabbiting on about podcasters lately and saying, "Oh, you don't go to the games and you just think that you're commenting on the games and you think you're super fans." Guys, I do go to the games. Those two can't. Alex goes to what he can. Billy can't get the games because they live down south. What do you expect? Some people have no brains. Evening, Paul Tully. He says a mixed mood about the game. 100% clear that the midfield that started doesn't control the midfield. I actually think Anderson is better styled to replace Bruno. Interesting. Gaza G says Maxi was poor. Spike, too many players wait for the ball instead of moving it. ASM wants to start running. He's one of the laziest players in the Premier League, says Bill Moore. Dean says the body snatchers have swapped Howe out with Southgate. We are predictable now with managers' favourites. This is creeping in. About, and listen, Eddie Howe has had magnificent praise from us as a channel and still will, because I think he's just a fantastic guy. But there has to come a point where, you have to, constructively criticize some of his decisions, Billy, because, yesterday, yes, he was hamstrung a bit with Isak being out. But the substitutions he made were very confusing at the time. Not Anthony Gordon, not that one, but the one where he brings Murphy and Elliot Anderson on, and he takes Miggy and Willock off, who were actually starting to control the game a little bit.
Yeah, I thought it was real strange time, and I thought he could have made that change 10 minutes before. No one would have said a word. The matter was, at the time he took them off, we were dominant and we were looking like we were going to score. He then took Willock and Miggy off, who were constructive in some of that play. A lot of it was down to Miggy, actually. He was superb for 10 minutes before he went off. Willock was much better also. To take him off at that time it seemed ridiculous to me, and we lost a bit of momentum through it as well. And that's not nothing against Elliot Anderson or Jacob Murphy, because they did okay when they came on. But just they're different players to Miggy and Joe Willock. And
I thought Elliot did. I thought Elliot looked really good, actually. I thought he did really well when he came on, and I think
it wasn't his fault we lost the momentum, but
no.
Eddie Howe's hamstrung. You say he's got his favourites. He has no one else to pick. He's got 4 too many chooses.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah.
We saw it against Sheffield Wednesday when he put the reserves out. They weren't good enough. You can't put them into a Premier League game; they'll get absolutely stuffed. So
certainly the likes of Fraser.
11, 12 players he can start with. 13 players perhaps, and 14, 15 players he can bring with subs. Yeah, he's hamstrung. It's not his fault. He's not involved with transfers. I blame the people behind the scenes here.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to say. We have to start asking questions about what actually happened in that transfer window, because it's clear that we've been left short, and that can't have been deliberate. It can't have been. Something's gone wrong in the transfer window when I'm getting to the stage where I think, an agreement for a player was made and then something's gone wrong, and we've lost out, because I can't believe that, the backroom staff, as good as they are, the likes of Dan Ashworth, etc., have left it like this, because surely they could see where the gaps in the squad are. It's bizarre to me. And you have to wonder, though, don't you? I mean, I'm not criticising by any stretch of the imagination. I am just asking the question, because it seems very strange that we would leave our midfield the way it is.
Somebody's got to make the hard decisions, and ultimately, we weren't going to be able to get the sort of players on loan that would have been good enough to give us cover, because the clubs won't do business with us. And we have our own extensive sort of list of players that we are ready to deal with when is possible. And it might be a case of they've had to make a tough call, and they've said, look, we are ahead of schedule. Do we break our plan to maybe try and carry on this push, or do we just stick to the plan regardless? And in my opinion, I think they've just gone with a tough call, and they've just said, sod it, we're going to stick with the plan because we've got these targets in the summer. This is the wage to revenue situation with FFP, and this is the situation with expiring contracts. We're just going to stick to our guns, stick to the plan, and we're going to do it in the summer, and hopefully it works out. I think that's the route they've taken. It's risky, but I can't criticize them for it, because it may or may not work. You never know.
Well,
you never know.
I mean,
we might go into a good upturn of form. We might win the League Cup final. We might stay around the top 4, top 6, and it's fine. We don't know. Bruno's only out for 2 more games now. He'll help massively when he comes back into the side. Hopefully, Isak will start playing a lot more, and Gordon will start playing a lot more. They might all do brilliantly, and we win for another 4 or 5 matches in a row when they all come back, and then this conversation suddenly just dies away. But right now, it looks risky. I honestly think that they've just all stood back and said, no, we're just going to stick to the plan. Because they got offered too much good money for Shelby, potentially. Although there's a lot of people keep attacking certain people, saying there was no transfer fee, and some people saying there was a transfer fee. So I don't
Nobody
know.
said anything about what it is. Nobody's made that official. So anybody who says that they know what it was is bullshitting, because we haven't heard anything.
The thing is, we were third in the table when the transfer window started. It was blatantly obvious we've got a squad that's short of quality and quantity, to be honest. I think they should have gambled and maybe bought 3 or 4 players in, and tried to cement this 3rd place, 4th place finish. Because it doesn't look favourable to me that we're going to finish the top 4 now. I'll be honest.
No, it's a risk, like you say, Alex. It's clear that they've taken a risk. And look, we have to put faith in the guys that have taken that risk because, these are the guys that have got certain players through the door. And we just have to have faith that they are the right guys.
I've got a positive bit to this. If they're willing to potentially risk not finishing in the top 4 spaces, then surely that means that the summer they have planned is rather impressive.
Yeah.
If they've all taken a step back and said, we don't care, we're going to stick to the plan, whatever happens, and wherever we finish, surely the summer plan is immense. It makes me really confident about the summer.
Yeah, it does give you faith that they are going to go out and do something in the summer to like you said, Billy, just fill these gaps and improve the squad. And if we do manage to finish Champions League, fantastic. It will mean that we can bring some rather bigger names in than we've probably.
Yeah, well, Amanda said 5 years to a Premier League, 5 to 10 years. So if she wants to stay on track, we've got to spend money in the summer. So we should be spending big money, really. You would imagine.
Yep. Frank Dux, you're not going to like this, Alex. Frank Dux says Maxi needs replaced. He's not good enough. Gouffran was better, and I'm not joking. Maxi is flashy with no substance. David Cook says Maxi plodding around, not doing much. Gordon did more in 20 than Maxi did in 70. I do agree with that.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. Wagner says, unfortunately, finding a Bruno replacement is almost impossible due to his sort of unique characteristics. Yes. Will's talking about Milinkovic-Savic. Look, we were never going to get him. That's quite clear now. Frank also says, I'd give Miggy a rest next game. Keith says, your thoughts on Miggy? Seems to have gone off the boil.
Frank saying he doesn't want Maxi playing. He doesn't want Miggy playing. How many players do you think we've got?
Yeah. Well, listen, we talked about what would be our, certainly from my point of view, our ideal front three at the minute. I'd love to see is Isak left, Gordon on the right, and Wilson through the middle. I think that front three is sick, to be honest.
I think that's the most. I want Target back.
Yeah, look, I'm coming on to him. I'm coming on to that. We'll go with a couple of more comments. Dominic says Dan Ashworth has not paid any attention to Eddie Howe as far as bringing in suitable midfield cover. Too many photo ops and interviews on the TV.
Well, that's not true.
He is supposed to work in behind the scenes. Dominic, I think that's very harsh. Absolutely.
He's been out in press conferences and said that because he was asked about how much contact he has with the owners and if he's spoken to Amanda and Mehrdad. And he said, no, but I'm in contact with Dan regularly. So he speaks to Dan Ashworth. I don't know why I'm calling him Dan. I don't know him. But yeah, Mr. Ashworth. But he is in regular contact with him because he stated it in his own press conferences.
Yeah,
so
he did.
That's nonsense, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Shamrock says, do you think the weekend result justifies fans' frustration at the lack of movement in the window? I feel we've lost top 4 in that window. Look, we'll see by the end of the season, Shamrock. That's all we can say because I know... Listen, I'm frustrated with the window. I think Billy and Alex are as well. I think we realise
the hammy, we're in there. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
that's all it takes. Harry Kane's injured, and we're fine.
We've taken a big risk, as Alex says. We have taken a huge risk, but that risk may pay off. It may not, but it may also pay off. We'll just have to wait and see. And at the end of the season, we'll talk about whether it's paid off or whether it hasn't. But that's a conversation for another day.
But the thing is, we've got a small squad. We've got a small squad who are tired. How do they get rest? I don't see it. I honestly don't see it. I don't see how they do it.
Dean says a shout out to you guys for the match day commentary. You're doing an amazing job. Thanks, Dean. Really appreciate that, matey. Ab says people are overreacting. For one thing, Mike has been fine since New Year. Not sure what you mean by that.
This will change very quickly. If we go and beat Liverpool and win the final, everybody will be fine. This will change literally instantly, depending on results.
Yeah.
Well, if we win, of course.
Well, yeah. But let's go into left back, right? Because we had this conversation briefly at the end of the match yesterday, talking about Dan Burn and, do we want a specific left back in that position? Now, if you're asking me honestly now, yes, I want to see Matt Targett back in. I know Dan Burns. Listen, I've got nothing against Dan Burn, and he's done a fabulous job. But I think now is the time that certainly the left side, we need to have an overlapping fullback who's willing to get forward. And Matt Targett he's not the best at it, don't get me wrong, but he gets forward a lot more than Dan Burn does. And he's very, very good at left back. We know he is. He's a sound defender. But we need to start playing players in the right positions again. And Dan Burn's done really well, but we need that left back cover, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, if you take the whole left side as like a one construct thing, Burn to Joe Linton doesn't work very well. Joe Linton looked better when he was moved into the midfield. Saw more of the ball, was more influential. I was quite proud of him for not getting sent off as well. He tried to calm down a little bit, so that was nice. Because I'm very scared he was going to get sent off. But yeah, and then Burn likewise. So Joe Linton is not an out-and-out left winger. He's kind of he's a mixture of a few things. And then when you've also got Burn, who's an unorthodox fullback, it's just so unbalanced. And I think we would look so much better with Targett. I think we could look good with Burn, as we've shown, but we need our midfield. We need our full strength of midfield, and we need to be, all the technical things need to be happening for that to function. Yeah. Otherwise, especially losing Bruno now, the best way because we can't force Longstaff to be better. He's as good as he's going to get. He looks fine, but where else is the creativity going to come from? The best way to solve that is balance the fullbacks and balance both sides. We can have Targett trying to maraud, sort of maybe overlapping Gordon. That could be the solution to try and balance this out. We'll create more high-value opportunities, and we'll look a bit better if we've got balance in the pitch. Targett and Gordon on the left, because we've not got Bruno as creative in midfield for 2 more games. Yeah. I'm not Eddie Howe, I'm not a manager, but I would like to see Targett and Gordon on the left for the next game, just because I think we'd offer a lot more balance and it would solve the issue of not having as much creativity from midfield at the moment.
Yeah. The Incredible Beard says if Burn hadn't ducked from the corner, it would have hit his chest. I'm not sure why he was ducking. I've seen that again, actually, and I have to agree. I'm not sure why he ducked out the way, unless he got a call or a fake call or whatever, and he's just ducked, Billy.
Not only that, he could have guided Joe Linton further forward as well and stopped the flick on, which was another reason why. I mean, he's got the view of everything. He's a centre half. He should be vocal in the area. But I say centre. He's a centre half. He's naturally a centre half. Yeah, and then to duck when it was ridiculous. But I think Dan Burn's tired. He never gets a break.
He does look tired. He does look tired.
If he rests our centre halves, he has to go and play there. And then Lewis or whoever comes at left back. So he doesn't ever get a break even when we rotate, he doesn't get a break.
Well, he might get a break now because we know that Matt Targett's back training, so that is a possibility. David Atkinson says Maxie's physiology is made for explosive bursts, like a 100-meter sprinter. He hasn't got the endurance to play the high press game. Interesting.
I think he can, just not. Like the way he's played when he's come on as a substitute, obviously ignoring the game where we were a man down in the semi-final, that's a bit different. But when he's come on, it's been different. You've got to allow him to be a little bit further forward, in the same way that we've allowed Wilson to just kind of stand up top. There was like a 3 or 4 game run where Wilson wasn't scoring and wasn't doing anything, but just stood up front. But nobody criticised that. He got a free pass. There are games where Miggy doesn't do much and gets a free pass. People are saying they know what Maxi's game is. What we're not playing in a way that suits him. I don't think it's Maxi's fault.
Do you know what? I don't think we've ever seen truly what Maxi's game is, because
I agree. Maxi was not very good. Fine, fair enough. He was not good, but he's being asked to play a role and do so many things that it's just not his game. Of course, he's not going to do very well. It's the same way Chris Wood trying to play a role he's not very good at. He's not very good at it. You've seen that when he was with Ashley Barnes at Burnley. He was banging them in. 10 goals, 14 goals, 10 goals. He was fine. They put him in our system and he can't hit a barn door and he couldn't play the 9 game to save his life. Of course, he's not going to play well. Whereas Gordon has a lot more energy and a lot more about him and suits our left wing role a lot better. It's, I just like Maxi because I've loved the whole sort of Ben Arthur, Ginola in a black and white shirt. It's just, it's cute. It's what we've always done. It's what we've been known for.
We're not utilising him properly, though, are we? We're not utilising him.
We're not at all.
We need to get the ball to him quicker. We need to get the ball to him quicker. That's the first thing. Second thing is we don't want him to be defending. And if we've got a left back that isn't a left back behind him, he has to defend. It's not good for him. If you put a left back behind him, overlap, take players away, then I think you'll see the better of Maxi.
He could work on the right side, possibly, but I don't think he'll play on the right side. So I just think for now, let's just play Gordon. And you never know. We'll see in the summer what happens with transfers. We may move to a system and personnel where Maxi will be useful, but in this current shape, he'd be good as a substitute because he can stretch the game at the end. But at the moment, I don't see how he starts. Howe might give him another game, but
I think he has to start. I think he has to start personally.
I mean,
I think he has to start against Bournemouth. I think he has to start against Liverpool, and the reason for that is if Joe Linton was to get booked in those 2 games, Anthony Gordon can't play in the Wembley final. You've got a forlorn Maxi to play, and you have to play him because we've got no one else. I think you've got to give him some love this week, some proper love, big him up, get him on the pitch against Bournemouth, and get his confidence back, and that's the only way around it.
Maybe.
Interesting. Stephen Donathy says, can't believe this negativity. We're in a cup final and 4th in the league. Just be happy with what we've got. It's only still a year. Don't turn into Man United fans. Look, Stephen, right? I'm getting a bit frustrated that every time, we do a show and say Newcastle didn't play very well, people come on and say, oh, I can't believe this negativity. We're not being negative. There's a difference between constructive criticism and negativity. We are not being negative at all. We are simply saying that we didn't play well yesterday, and everybody realizes that. Yes, we're 4th in the league. Yes, we're in a cup final. But we're not going to sit here and blow smoke up their asses. We're looking at that one game. It's that one game against West Ham. It's the West Ham preview. So we are looking in depth at that game when clearly we were not at our best. And we're not going to sit here and say, oh, yeah, that wasn't too bad. That wasn't too bad. One thing about us on this channel is we're always going to be honest and give our honest opinion of what we've seen on the football pitch from that game. And it just wasn't good enough. It's as simple as that. It really wasn't good enough. And
we've had 3 0-0s and a 1-1 in the last month.
Yeah, you have to start to worry a little bit and say things need to change. And that's all we're doing. The negative side of it no, I'm sorry. Zishan, thanks for your $8.99 super chat. He says, I think Maxi failed to take his opportunity, but he can still be an impact substitute when he comes on. Target needs to come on with him. I think Maxi is just low on confidence right now.
Yeah, I think if Maxi plays, it's got to be with Target because Maxi needs an overlap. Yeah. He needs, because then that overlap takes a spare defender away. Yeah. And then Maxi does his drive into the box. If he's not able to do that, there's no point. Don't play him. Because that is his game. That is literally Maxi's game.
I think Target gets the ball to him quicker as well.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. I think that's a fair comment, to be honest.
You might as well just play Gordon in this system. It doesn't make sense to play Maxi anymore unless we change it.
Yeah. As he says, I think Miggy is a big issue at the moment. He has no end product and doesn't know when to pull the trigger. I'd swap him out for Gordon on the right. So there's somebody who's mentioning Miggy. Geordie Howayman says, spoke to some West Ham fans down the quayside today, and they're delighted at the point. That's how far we have come.
That's true.
Absolutely.
I mean, we were happy to get the point, the point off them at the start of last year, weren't we? When we went to them away, when we got the 1-1, we were pleased with the point, and now it's reversed.
Samsonite said he's disappointed to see Miggy refusing to even try crossing with his right yesterday. I
was a little bit as well.
Yeah. Toon Wembley says, I also noticed we rarely hit early crosses. Christopher Davis wish Miggy would start crossing with his right after beating his man. He keeps coming back onto his left foot, and it's easier for the fullback to defend. Well, especially when we break forward quickly and he gets to the byline, he's got an opportunity to whip it on his right, but he pulls it back. That gives them time to get back into defensive positions. So there's lots of reasons why a good, quick right-footed cross would benefit.
I've told Miggy in person that, literally.
You have. Yes.
At the Forest game, I shouted in Spanish, con la derecha, like, with your right foot, Miggy. I don't know if he heard me, but I tried when they were walking around. Because in that Forest game, he had a few opportunities to square it with his right foot, and he didn't do it.
Yeah. As he says, give up on Miggy now. He isn't good enough and doesn't supply the balls we need from a winger.
That's negative.
Mr. Matthews says, Wilson and Miggy need a rest. put Isak up front and Gordon on the right, drop ASM and put Joe on the left. It's another option, but where you can't at the minute with Bruno missing. You just can't do that right now.
Who goes in midfield?
Exactly. Barbara says Casemiro's out for the cup final. He's not, Barbara.
He should be.
There is talk they're going to appeal it, which might make it big cup final.
Because it's violent conduct. It's not from a tackle. It's from an off-the-ball incident, which can be extended. And in my opinion, should, but I bet it won't because it's
come on, guys, it's Manchester United here. Even if they do appeal, he's not going to get any extra games. Come on,
he should. I mean, what people? Suarez got 8 games for biting someone. I think strangling someone is equally, if not worse, than biting someone. So Casemiro deserves more than 3.
I mean, look, I've seen that. I've seen the incident over and over again, and Casemiro does have his hands around his neck. He's not squeezing the life out of him. He's just got a hold of him. Now, it's still, don't get me wrong, this is still a red card and it's still violent conduct. But Gabriel Bonlahor going on the radio saying the police need to get involved for assault. I think come on. I mean, Gordon Bennett, worse than that happens on the ice hockey every week when they pummel the shit out of each other. You know, they didn't get done for assault. I mean, this just proves what a bell end he is. I mean, saying utter rubbish like that, saying, Casemiro should be arrested. Look, he had his hands around his neck. It was a sending off, but he wasn't squeezing the life out of him as if Will Hughes wasn't I can't breathe. Will Hughes didn't even think any of it. He just walked off. He didn't even realize Casemiro was going to get a red card. Yeah,
but you still can't do that, Paul. It's I only had my boot on his head. I didn't push down.
Alex, I've already said it's still a red card. Don't get me wrong. All I'm saying is,
do you know what's harsh about it? That Bruno gets the same ban as what Casemiro does.
Absolutely. But it's still a red card. But Bonlahor saying he should be done for it. Come on, Jesus Christ!
He deserves a harsher punishment than Bruno because Bruno's was just a mistimed tackle.
Yeah, but at the minute, guys, they're the rules for violent conduct. 3-game ban. Whether it's what Bruno got, whether it's what Casemiro got, it's violent conduct, and they're the rules at the minute, which we do not need to change because it's a stupid rule. There's no doubt about that.
Well, the rules don't matter according to Klopp. So,
Klopp doesn't care. Klopp just.
Did you see what the Wolves admin did after their victory? After the Wolves victory, so Wolves won 3-0, but Klopp said in his post-match that the third goal didn't count because it was the first time they crossed the halfway line in the second half.
Yeah, they changed the full-time result to 2-0, didn't they?
Yeah, so the Wolves admin posted the final score as 2 and rubbed out the extra goal as a joke.
thought that was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Stu says, well, maybe our preferred transfer target was injured this window. Maybe that's why. Maybe we are waiting for Maddison. We were possibly pissed around by Chelsea again, says Jim. I mean, we know we were very interested in Gallagher.
There could be some worldies in the pipeline. You never know.
Yeah. Mr. Matthews says, Miggy does not shoot anymore. He has went back to his Bruce displays. He needs to start taking a chance, drive into the box, and FFS shoot. There was quite a few times Miggy cut in yesterday and didn't pull the trigger, Billy.
Well, I think the defenders are getting used to that. I think they're wise to it, and I think they're blocking off his shot. I honestly don't see him ever getting the gap to shoot in the past 3 or 4 games, which is good on the defenders we're playing against. Yes, he should be trying to cross more with his right. I think he needs a rest. I think I'd give him the next game off, bring Gordon on that side for him. I would give him a rest and get him back for the Liverpool game.
Yeah. Scott Nation's question to Paul, does Isak get injured too easy? No. I think, look, it wasn't Isak's fault he had the ball blasted at him and he suffered a concussion.
Harsh.
I mean,
he got twatted in the head. That's really harsh.
Yeah, and then we know his other injury. You know, I don't think it was Isak's fault. No. Listen.
I mean, Botman had the same. He's just a Terminator.
If Isak picks up a couple of niggles between now and the end of the season, then maybe we can go back to that question. But certainly not at the minute.
It's not like a calf sprain. He just got booted in the head.
Yeah, he got absolutely whacked. Dark by Design says, I'm tired of Maxi now. Another channel said he's not fit enough yet. Look at Gordon. Hardly played for Everton. Big difference. He's got a point, Alex. I have to say he's got a point. I
don't think it's anything to do with fitness. I completely disagree with that.
No, I think it's confidence. I think it's confidence.
It's confidence.
He just doesn't look himself at all.
I think there's Burn behind him.
Yeah,
there were a lot of times as well when Maxi was sort of in the left wing, and I was waiting for Joe Linton to make an inside run, and then I'd wait, and I'd wait, and I'd carry on waiting. There was nobody in the inside run, and then Burn would eventually show up, and then Maxi would make the wrong decision and lose the ball. I think it's a bit of that left side's just not functional in that way, and Maxi also just really struggled in that role. Really, it's a very different type of left wing role than he was even doing at the start of the season.
But you know what a lot of people say, Alex, is that if Maxi is what he claims to be, and this he wants to win the Ballon d'Or in future years and stuff like that, then surely Maxi, if he's that good, should be able to change his game to accommodate whatever position he's in. If he's that good,
he's not that good. Okay. He's not. If he's not good enough to change his game to be able to track back and do this and have the decision making, he's not. He can't do all that. He is what he is. We've seen his limitation, but if you facilitate that, he can go and get 3 assists against Man City and destroy Kyle Walker. If you play his game, he's unplayable. But we're not playing his game, and then so it was a combination of not helping. We were not enabling him, and then he was then also putting in a poor performance of not stepping up to receive passes, making the wrong decision a few times. He did a couple of things right. He played a nice dink over to Wilson. He released Burn, and then Burn did a stupid early ball that was nonsense. He should have waited for the Maxi overlap. But then a lot of it was poor decision making as well. It's not working. I agree. I think it can work. I don't think people saying Maxi is bad. I think that's wrong. I think he had a bad game and he doesn't suit the system. I think Maxi's fine. It's just not working in our current in the way that we are at the moment. So again, I'd just play Gordon instead. Or
Zishan says, thank you for your £4.49, Zishan. He says, guys, just your opinion. Do you think our next game against Bournemouth is a must-win game if we want top 4? I don't think it's a must-win game, no, but I think we need to start winning again to get a bit of confidence back, just to say, look, we've had a little bit of a wobble, which is fair enough, but now we're back to winning ways. I think we should look at these next 2 games as very winnable. Bournemouth, not a great side, in my opinion, not having a great season. Liverpool, crazy out of form. Things are going on behind the scenes of that club. I've got no doubt about it. They are rock bottom in confidence. And if we can go out and, if Wolves can go out and spank them 3-0, then why can't Newcastle United? So
we could do with beating Bournemouth and taking a win into the Liverpool game. Yeah, anything absolutely. But 3 points. Considering we fumbled against Bournemouth at the start of the season and we struggled in the cup, we need to kill off Bournemouth early. As long as we can score more than 1.
It's different away from home, though. I mean, but at home, Bournemouth are going to have to come out. So they can't just sit back and defend for 90 minutes, can they?
Similarly to Fulham away as well, I think,
Yep. Dark by Design says, look at Grealish the day. Fouled about 20 times. He gets up and smiles, unlike Max, he's sitting on his arse checking his bandages. Look, that was frustrating. He did that a couple of times yesterday when he lost the ball. He went down and West Ham broke away and he's sitting on his arse. But that is Maxi. That's who he is. Whether we like it or not, that's just who he is. Dark by Design says we can't see the comments on the screen, Paul. No, I'm not putting them on the. I'm trying to put some on, mate. But there's that many come in now, and I've said this over the last couple of weeks. I'll still read some out, but I can't get every single one of them on the screen now because there's just too many. And you guys can have that conversation in the chat, but if I was to read every single one out, we wouldn't have a show. But it's brilliant to see people still, talking to each other about the game. And I will read as many as I can out, mate. Don't you worry about that. But there's just thousands come in every show now, and it's very difficult to put them on the screen. But I will try and read as many as I can out. So thank you for cooperating with that. It's just very, very difficult. Brandon Green says, I noticed Maxi was backing out of challenges, not all of the time, but it definitely affected us as we were really poor at keeping the ball at times. He wasn't the only one yesterday that was backing out of 50-50s. Willock did it a couple of times as well, which was frustrating.
That, to be fair.
Yeah,
he backs out of aerial dual 50-50. That annoys me so much when the ball's up in the air ready to be contested and he steps back. It really annoys me. Maxi actually got the most tackles out of anybody on our team.
He did actually. I saw that stat earlier on. But
people don't want to talk about that because it doesn't fit the narrative.
Well, I don't think it's a narrative, Alex. I just think I think a
I mean,
lot
there
of people
is.
have.
How many comments have we had tonight saying, "Oh, well, when he loses the ball, he touches his bandages too many times." It's ridiculous at this point. Judge the football. It's ridiculous.
All I think is people have run out of patience with him. That's all.
I know. Well, that's fair. Well, let's just play Gordon then. I'm bored of the conversation now because it's just it's an attack on his character at this point, and I'm just bored of it.
I would love to see Anthony Gordon. I really would. I'd love to see Gordon come in, but we'll have to wait and see what Owl Eddie decides to do, I guess. Toon TV, Jack, good evening. Evening all, not the best result, but we move on. The front three need a mix-up next week, and Gordon was really good when he came on the pitch. He was, and I think that's a very big positive. I love the way when everybody goes to make a comment about Maxi, it always starts with, "Sorry, Alex." Everybody apologizes to Alex before they say anything bad about Maxi.
I've agreed with most of you today, with the exceptions of the whole bandage thing, and he is bad. I think he's a good player, but I agree he had a bad game, and is also that left side is a poor shape for anybody that's not a really energetic, hardworking player. It just doesn't work. I mean, even Fraser looked crap in that. He had like a 4, 5, 6 game run where he was all right. And then his energy just went and he looked poor. Everybody in that left wing role has struggled who's not Joe Linton, because Joe Linton can compensate because he's 1.5 players in one player. But even he struggles. He's not an out-and-out winger.
Jay Devlin, I'm not quite sure what you're on about here. Alex is right, and yous are even making things up about Maxi to be mad about. What if we?
I mean, the bandage thing, I feel like, I mean, it's not wrong, but I feel like it's just pointless saying that. Every player sits and whinges. Miggy whinges every time he gets tackled, but nobody puts that in the chat. Miggy's on the floor all the time when he gets tackled. Again, Shah's down multiple times a game, as the loaded lads say, but for some reason that all gets ignored in our chat. It's only the Maxi thing that gets picked up. There are plenty of players sit on the floor and cry. Consistency would be nice. That's all I ask. I don't see anybody furiously saying Richie and Fraser are not good enough and we need to sell them and we need to. Well, why are people not saying that? They're not good enough. They're sat here taking a fat wage.
Well, I 100%
Maxi
agree
is at least playing.
I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Maxi's won us points this season.
Yeah.
Richie hasn't won us any points this season. He's taken a massive wage. Nobody's talking about Matt Ritchie.
100% agree about that. 100%. Anyway, let's move on to the player rating, shall we? Because this is probably gonna be the most interesting part of the show, where we stand on player ratings. So good luck with this, guys. Billy, we're going to start with you and Bishop Pope.
Didn't have a shot to save as far as I can remember. Literally had no shots to save. I can't remember him having to save a shot. Just a run-of-the-mill 6, because he's literally had nothing to do except for picking the ball up in it.
Alex?
Yeah, that's fair. I agree. I don't remember him having to do much, apart from pick the ball out of the net, unfortunately. So he was lively a couple of times, but a 6 isn't a negative. It's just purely based on he didn't have a lot to do.
Yeah. Well, I'm going with a 7, based on exactly what you guys have said. But 6 and 7s across the board for me.
We need to come up with a new criteria of how to rate keepers, because I feel guilty giving him low scores, but if he's not touched it, what do we do?
Yeah. Daniel Bullock says, Paul, hear me out. Newcastle sell Maxi, and in his replacement buy either Lozano, Politano, or Mavididi. English lad from French league. All 3 players are good wingers.
I don't want Chucky. You can keep Chucky. He's past it. That's Chucky? Lozano. Erling Lozano. His nickname's Chucky for some weird reason.
Yeah, a lot of people are mentioning Joe Linton's dive in the comments. Listen, weird, that. I said it during commentary. We don't want to see any Newcastle United player doing that. I've got no time for it.
In his defence, he didn't ask for a penalty.
Well, he didn't.
He didn't throw his arms up. He didn't look at the ref. They just instantly ran and gave him a card, and then the commentators slated him. He didn't ask for a penalty.
Yeah.
If you'd have given him half a second, he might have gone up and apologised. You never know. You've got to give him a chance.
Ah, come on, Alex. He played for a penalty there. That was clear as day that he threw himself to the floor for a penalty. I think you're being a bit lenient there, matey, to be honest. But hey,
I feel like you need to gauge his reaction.
Maybe
if the player instantly gets up and says, "Whoa, sorry, I didn't mean to go over here," then fair enough. But if they stay down and try and get a penalty, yeah, of course, simulation, yellow card all day long.
He did laugh. So he kind of gave the game away, to be honest, because he did laugh, as if to say, I've just made a fool of myself there, but never mind.
The thing is, with all these cameras around these days, they're not going to get away with it.
Yeah, I don't know why they bother.
They are going to check it, and they're going to see he dived. So what's the point? What is the point of it? If he misses the cup final because he gets booked the next 2 games for missed time tackles, that dive's going to cost him the cup final place. Ridiculous.
Ian says, Alex, you're delusional. He doesn't say what about, though. But there you go. If you're going to call someone delusional, please explain why. Otherwise, it's just a ridiculous comment. Anyway.
Spurs is copying our dressing room antics now. They've got Harry Kane talking to people on the phone in the dressing room. Cameras in there.
Right, we'll move across to Trippier. Alex, we'll start with yourself.
I thought he was all right. I don't think he was the reason we didn't win. I think he was doing his job role absolutely fine. He had a 20-minute period where he was a little bit sloppy on the right wing with Miggy, but apart from that, he cleaned it up pretty well. He nutmegged a few people trying to get Miggy going. He was trying different balls over the top. His delivery was fairly good. It was us not getting on the end of it. Drew a bunch of fouls. 3 key passes is pretty massive. I don't know. That's a tough one. I'm going to give him an 8. I think he was all right. I think there's an argument to be made that with his sloppy 20-minute period, that could drag it down to a 7 possibly. But I'm going to give him an 8 based on his output. I feel like it's not his fault people aren't finishing their dinner again. I'm going to say the same things about Trippier as I used to Maxi. People need to finish their dinner. Trippier is putting in 5, 6, 7 crosses, 5, 6, 7 corners every game. Just put it in the damn net just once in a month. Like that's all we ask.
I'm going with a 6.
Really?
Yeah, really. And a lot of the chat are going 6s and 7s. I thought he was poor first half. I thought his passing was poor. And again, his crossing, his set pieces, his corners, just not hitting the man. Now, you could say that's because, is it that the players aren't challenging in the box? No. I think basically it's the set pieces, the crossing, not good enough at the moment, and that's got to improve. I'm not seeing an 8 anywhere
4
near an 8
crosses.
yesterday. Well, what do you do? Just accurate crosses, because
it's got to hit your man. It's got to hit a friendly man to be an accurate cross.
I think they just hit them on the back, and that's where he's getting that from, because there was knee-headed chances. But never mind. Billy, what are you going for?
I think it's hard to score Trippier because I didn't think he was the worst of the defenders from a passing point of view. But he cost us a goal with that what he did in the back post with Qatar.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot to factor that in. All right, I'm downgrading 7.
I'm going to give him a 6.
Okay. Right, let's move across to the other side. And Dan Burn, I'll start us off with Dan Burn. I'm giving him a 5. Look, he struggled yesterday. He looks really, really, really tired, Dan Burn. He just looks like he's got a lot of fatigue. And I genuinely think we need to make a change at left back just to give us a bit of difference and a bit of something. But he just wasn't at the races for me. So 5. Billy?
Yeah, I think 5's fair. I believe he looks tired. He's not a natural left back. He's got lots of credit in the bank. He's been superb this season, playing slightly out of position in a role that really doesn't suit him because he's a 6'7" defender. Left backs want to be up and down the wing all day. He can't do that. 5 is fair, but I do believe that Target should be in for the next game if he's fit to play.
Okay, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give a 5 as well. I'm starting him. If I start him on a 5 in my head, I think he goes up to a 6 because of his aerial duels were insane. He was plucking everything out of the air, 8 out of 11. But then just the passing and just general play brings it back down to a 5 again. It just wasn't, 72% pass accuracy, a lot of sloppiness, a lot of slowness, not contributing with the attack. Arguably could have possibly stopped the cross that we conceded from.
Yeah, he did duck out the way. Yeah.
I agree. I'd like to see Targett at left back and give Burn a break. Not again, he's got credit in the bank. He's great, but I'd just like to see it mixed up a little bit.
Okay. Right, Dan. I nearly said it again. I nearly said it. Sven Botman, Billy.
Defensively, I thought he was really good, but another bad day when he was poor with his passing. His past 3 or 4 games, his passing has been a little bit awry. I'll give him a 6.
Okay. Alex?
I'll give him a 7. You say his passing's gone awry. It was still 90%, which just goes to show the standards we've set for this kid. The fact that we both think that Burn and Botman had poor passing games and Botman's is so much higher at 90%, just shows how good he is. I liked some of his recovery runs. I thought the recovery run against Antonio was brilliant. It showed it finally, hopefully, has stopped people saying he's slow, because he's not slow. Literally, before he signed for us, there was a big interview about how he said he'd hired a private company to come and improve his sprints and his top speed and his acceleration because he wants to be quick. I don't know. It was literally the people who watched that Chelsea game in the Champions League versus Lille. Everybody's just gone, oh, he's slow. He's not slow. As that proved, that was a great recovery run. But yeah, he was a little bit lower than his normal standards. But I still think enough for a 7. I thought he was okay.
Yeah, I'll go for 7 as well, for exactly what you've said, Alex. Right, we'll move on to Fabian Schär. I'm going to go with a 6 for Fabian. I thought he was well off the pace, certainly first half yesterday. He did improve second. Second half, he started to bring the ball out a lot more. When we started putting the pressure on, he was bringing the ball out a lot more. And I really liked what he did second half. First half, his passing was just god-awful. I don't know how many times, Billy, we said, oh, that's terrible, Schär, in the first 20 minutes of the game. But he wasn't at the races first half. Second half, he got better. So a 6 for me. Billy?
Yeah, I think 6 is fair. Again, I thought he defended well as well, though. But the passing was probably more often Botman's, actually. In fact, it definitely was. So not up to his usual standards, but loads of credit in the bank for Fabian Schär because he's been outstanding this season. Yeah, 6 yesterday. Okay, Alex?
Yeah, I'll give him a 6. He was the same as Burns' pass rate, 72% pass rate, so considerably lower than Botman's was. And Botman made more passes as well. Botman made 55, Schär made 49, and with a much lower completion rate. 5 accurate long balls, winning a lot in the air, but a little bit off the pace. And again, the ball seems to fall to him. It fell to him in that game. I think he had a headed opportunity and one that fell to his feet. I want to see him on target. Again, this is I say this week in, week out. You guys know I say this. You don't need to score, but just get it on target. That's all you need, because then there's the chance of a rebound or something happening. Just get it on target. So yeah, 6 for Schär. I wanted to see. I think if
Schär fell over from that chance with the foot, he gets a penalty. I don't know why he didn't.
Was there contact? Was there? I can't remember that.
The goalkeeper, when the goalkeeper came out, could have easily gone over.
Yeah, interesting. Anyway, we'll move on to Sean Longstaff. Billy?
Yeah, I thought he had a very good game, actually, considering he's not really experienced in that position. Different kind of player to Bruno. Obviously, hasn't got the energy that Bruno has, and he hasn't got the ingenuity that Bruno has. But for what Sean Longstaff can do, I thought he did really well. I'll give him an 8.
Yep, I'm going with an 8 as well. I thought he was very good yesterday. Continuing his good form, really, and he did a lot of work again in the middle of the park. So an 8 for me. Alex?
Yeah, 100%. He deserves an 8. Difficult because it is a step down, but he played his part. Again, you got to remember it was a position change. 89% pass accuracy was great. He got the assist for Wilson, so he deserves a high mark just by default from that. Drew a couple of fouls, didn't give any away. Really, really tidy. A few people tried to tell me that Joe Linton dropped into the 6. No, he didn't. Definitely didn't. You need to go and watch the game back. That did not happen. There was possibly the odd occasion where rotation happened in whatever phase was going on and where people were, but he wasn't sat in the 6. It was Longstaff. Interesting.
I mean, look, we're going to move on to Willock now, and I know this is going to cause some issues. I'm going to start with Willock, and I'm going with a 4. I thought he was just not good yesterday, and
He's the lowest rated on SofaScore, to be fair.
Yeah. I'm just going to leave it at that. Alex?
I think 4's harsh, but there is a case.
Well, yes, there's a reason it's
5.
harsh. It's because he was shite.
I'm going to give him a 5. I don't think he was. I think he had a similar game to Burn, in my opinion. Still with an 89% pass accuracy. He was trying to make things happen. But 3 out of 10 ground duels. I want him to win more than that. He's a big lad. He's a strong, athletic kid. 23 years old now. I want to see him winning a bit more physically. It annoys me that he doesn't, because he's, again, 0 out of 0 aerial duels. Go and win the ball in the air. He doesn't contest aerial duels. This used to be a massive bugbear of mine a year ago with him.
Well, he doesn't contest aerial duels, and he doesn't contest 50-50s either. He's got to start doing that.
Put his body on the line a bit more. I know he got hurt a little bit in an off the ball issue. He slid off the pitch with a teammate. I can't remember who it was, and he looked like he might have been injured for a couple of seconds. We got a bit nervous, but he's just got to. He's got to be a bit more physical, and he's got to not let his head drop. Maybe we could do a Trippy giving him a word, but his confidence. He makes one mistake, his head goes. He has a great 20 minutes, and then one bad thing happens, and his head just goes. It's really strange.
Billy,
I thought they took him off when he was just coming into the game. I think he came off maybe a bit prematurely, because he was starting to dominate the game slightly. He was getting really involved in it and playing some good balls, and everything was going through the middle, which kind of made Willock look worse because our wide men were so ineffective. And I think that doesn't help him if the wide men aren't effective. The goal he took was fantastic, the way he took it, although it was chalked off. I think 6. I think 6, 5, because, like you say, from a defensive point of view, it was awful.
Yeah. Right, move on to Big Joe. Alex, we'll start with you on Joe Linton.
See, that's a tough one, because I thought he was really poor for bits of it, and then when he sorted his own head out, and he was immense. Once he, I don't know, so he must have had a word with himself in his own head, and then he cleaned it up, and he was brilliant. But I don't know what to give him as an overall. I'll give him a 7. I think there were periods of the game where he was playing up to an 8 and a 9, but there were also periods where he was shocking. So I'm gonna round it out and give him a 7. 7 out of 16 ground duels, 1 out of 4 in the air. Could have won a bit more. I mean, he gave away 4 fouls, and there was the dive, but he was great. So many tackles and interceptions. It was a really weird game for him. It was so hot and cold. He was brilliant and crap in different moments of the game. I'll give him a 7.
Okay, I'm going to give him a 7. I would have given him an 8, but I'm giving him a 7 for the pathetic dive. And I don't want to see that from any Newcastle United player ever again. Listen, we hammer opposition players, especially the likes of Bruno Fernandes at Man United. We hammered Anthony Gordon for it himself earlier on in the season. We don't like it, and I don't want to see it from any Newcastle players. So a 6 from me. Billy? Sorry, you're 7. Billy?
I'm going to give him a 7 also, because on the whole, I thought he played pretty well. But like Alex says, he did have poor parts of the game. I think that's all to do with the fact he wasn't getting the support with him in the middle of the park, because Willock defensively wasn't very good. He didn't have Bruno with him also to guide him through. But a lot of the times he was leading from the front. He was bringing the ball out of defence. He was pushing the ball forward. But that dive was horrific. So 7 for me.
Yeah. Right, we'll move on to the front three. Incidentally, congratulations to Joe Linton. Him and his partner are having another baby boy. So adding to the brood of Joe Lintons, another boy is on the way. And there is rumours going around that Bruno is going to be included in the next Brazil squad. So we'll have to wait and see on that one.
Well, don't get a girl, because she's bound to be a diva. I mean, diva, that's the right word, isn't it?
Yes, careful, Billy. Right, we'll move to the front three now. We'll start with Miggy. Billy.
Because, again, they took him off too early. He was starting to real cause them some problems when they took him off. But before that, he flat out deceived, didn't he? He got past his fullback, and then came back. I think 6 is fair for Miggy.
Okay. I'm going to go with a 5. Because it's now starting to really frustrate me how many times he beats his man and can't get a cross in with his right foot. For me, that's something that he should be working. If he's not working in training with his coaches, stay a little bit after and try crossing with your right foot. Keep hitting the ball with your right foot. Just try something, because it's really starting to annoy me now. It's clear he's got the thing about Miggy is he beats his man quite easily most of the time to the byline with good skill. And then when it comes to the final ball, he has to cut back because he's got no right foot.
That's what we need to do. We need to stick Murphy's right foot on Miggy.
Yeah,
Murphy's not using it that much.
Yeah. That's just my thoughts on that, Alex.
I'll give him a 6. I think a 5's a little harsh, but really frustrated with his physicality. No duels. Just struggled a little bit in that regard. Normally he's a little bit better than that. And the 6 is for the great work he did up until the bit when he didn't carry it on. What you mentioned, he does 9/10 of the job and he just can't finish it off.
But I think defenders are expecting him now to come back onto his left. He's very, very predictable with it.
Yeah, I mean, Billy's just mentioned this about they block the inside run and then they block the first shot and then they make sure that when he takes it further for an even wider shot, they've got that option blocked as well. There's always men there to cover it. All it would take is twice a game, dink it with your right foot, just float it into the 6-yard box and see what happens. It doesn't have to be a great ball.
No, that's up to our forwards to make an effort to get on the end of it then.
Exactly, because normally when he's in that position, it's normally from quite a static movement. It's not like a breakaway. It'll normally be him and Trippier have been stood there for 10 seconds. Then they make a move. So the box is already flooded. We've got players in the box. So he just needs to float it in. It doesn't have to be a great ball. But again, I'm reluctant to give him less than the 6 because how do we know that this isn't instructional?
Yep, fair enough. Tom, sometimes, Tom, I despair, right? I know you're the historian along with Billy Trey on this channel, and I love you for that. But sometimes I could just grab you and shake you, right? I just said adding to the Joe Linton clan, right? Tom's come back and said there won't be a new baby added to the Joe Linton clan. Joe Linton is his first name. Full name is Joe Linton, a fucking apocalyptic Casadero Delira or whatever it is. So it's the Casio Delira clan. I was just generalizing, Tom, and just saying Joe Linton as we know and love him. You've got to love him, though. He's put some laughing emojis now, so he's a good lad, is Tom. Right. Callum Wilson, guys, we'll start with you, Alex.
7.
Okay.
And it's a weird 7 because he scored a goal. It was a good goal. 100% pass accuracy, was really, really tidy, getting involved a bit more. But physically, he got battered at that game. 0 out of 8 duels total. He did not win a single duel. 0 out of 4 ground, 0 out of 4 aerial. Needs to be a bit better physically. I don't think he can be. I think he's already a unit. But he's just not. I think he's got a bit more about him in terms of physicality and size. So yeah, he goes up from a 5 up to a 7 because he scored the goal and he looked a bit better on the ball, pushing out wide. It was great, but he just doesn't do well against big centre backs or a back three. He's always struggled against the back three. Anytime we play back three, he's just ineffective, and he's really got a grind like that. That goal against Forest in the first game of the season had to be a magical bit of quality to get a goal, because he wasn't going to get one through conventional means, because he just gets pushed off the ball far too easily against the back three. And again, there's an argument to be made. That precise point, Isak should play against Bournemouth, because I'm scared of another sort of get to. If we don't score in this initial 20-minute burst that we have, we always get to halftime 0-0, and then we start talking about substitutions, and it's the same old. It just concerns me. I think despite Wilson scored, he scored because he was given a really, really good opportunity on a plate, essentially.
Well, he was given a good opportunity on the play twice in the second half. And
Well, I just think Isak can create his own goals. He can do more himself.
I said during commentary yesterday that, when Gordon set him away, I think if that's Isak, it's in the back of the net. I put in the private chat earlier that shot was 0.08 xg. So most people don't hit that. That's a 1 in 20 shot, which I was surprised at, because in real time I thought it was a really good opportunity. But he didn't get the shot away. That's the thing. He waited too long. It was a great tackle. Don't get me wrong; it was a brilliant tackle, but he should have got the shot away.
I think he was trying to dink it, wasn't it? And
look, I think he should have just done. A lot of people have said that they cut in front, make his run diagonal instead of straight, cut across the defender while he was in front of him, and the defender's either got a choice: he either brings him down, which is a red card, or he has to then get the other side of Callum Wilson to try and make a tackle. But by then, it would probably be too late, because that time it takes for the defender to get around the other side of Wilson, he's in on goal. So
I think ultimately the same thing I say about Maxi and Gordon, I'm going to say about Wilson and Isak. I think there are games that suit Wilson and games that suit Isak. And I think playing against huge centre-backs or a back three, I'd rather see Isak, because Isak can just go wide, dribble it around, link up. He's really technical, really comfortable at just doing whatever. Whereas Wilson, that's not Wilson's game. Wilson wants to do a few particular things, and that's it. That is his comfort zone.
Very true. Anyway, I'm going to give him a 6. Just because, yes, he scored, but he missed 2 great opportunities. No, 7. Sorry, 6 is too harsh. 7. Brian says, I obviously see the game differently. They all put a shift in. West Ham are good. Brian, Specsavers, my friend. It's a
West
great
Ham are
place
better
to
than
go.
People think.
Yes, they are. I agree with you. West Ham are good, Brian, but we could have won that game yesterday. And some players are just not at the races at the minute, but everyone has their opinion. Right, Billy Wilson.
Again, improvement from the last game, and it's constant improvement in the way he's playing the game. However, he looks a yard short of pace to me. Whether he's lost that pace for good, who knows? I think if he has a yard more pace, he scores that second opportunity. He should have scored the header. He finished well for the first goal. I think 7's a fair score for him, and it's possibly generous actually. So I think 6 is probably what I would have given if he hadn't scored the goal.
Okay. Now, Maxi, Alex.
I'm going to give him a 5.
Okay.
Good with the tackles, 5 out of 7 ground duels, a couple of nice dinky long balls over, nice cross. So that bumps the score up to a 6 or a 7. And then receiving the passes, not stepping up, losing the ball, indecisive, looked a bit lost in the system, drags it all the way back down to the 5 again, unfortunately. Doesn't work in the system. Doesn't work. I think it works when he comes on as a sub when the game's changed, but it doesn't work from minute 1, unfortunately. It worked at the beginning of the season when we had a bit more balance with target, but in the current shape, it's just not working. And I think he will get another start next week, because I think Eddie Howe likes to give people a chance once they're in the team. But if it was me personally, if he's not going to change Burn, I wouldn't bother. I'd just play Gordon. And I love Maxi, but I would play Gordon. I think if you play Maxi, you have to also play target. So that's the only condition for me. So a 5.
Okay, Billy.
I think this week is a big week in Maxi's Newcastle career. I think he's got to get some love from the manager. I think he's got to get confidence. I think he has to start next week and the week after, because of Joe Linton's disciplinary record. If he needs to get booked next 2 games out of the final, then Maxi has to play the final because Gordon's upside. Yesterday, however, I mean, defensively, I thought it was okay, as Alex has said with the stats. Going forward, he's hamstrung by the team around him. If they don't get the ball to him quick enough, if they get the ball to him quicker, he's got 1 man on him. Generally, when he gets the ball on him, gets the ball to him, 2 or 3 on him, and then he's struggling. I'm going to give him a 5. However, I don't think it's all his fault. I really don't.
Okay, I'm going with a 4. I just thought he was not good yesterday, but I'm not going to criticize him too much. I'm just giving him a 4. I don't think he was great. I agree what Alex says. He's just not fitting into this system very well at all. And that not necessarily Maxi's fault. I also agree with Billy when you say he doesn't get the ball quick enough, but sometimes when he does get the ball, he doesn't run to it. He waits for it to come to him, and by then the defenders have intercepted it and away they go. Just thought he was poor.
But we did point out in the preview show that West Ham are really good at interceptions, and I think that was showcased very well in the match. They were stepping up and cutting passing lanes very well. There's a reason they're near the top of the league for interceptions. That is how they play. And they were very good at it.
Right, substitutions. We'll do Gordon and Murphy together because they came on at the same time. No, they didn't. Gordon came. Murphy came. Yes, I do apologize. Gordon first. So Gordon gets. Well, for the time he was on the pitch, I'm giving him a 9. I thought he was superb. I thought that ball through for Callum was superb. The way he was wanting the ball all the time. I just thought he's so exciting, and I can't wait to see what we get from him. So for me, in the time he was on the pitch, the impact he made as well, it has to be a 9 for me. Billy?
His first touch was amazing. The little dink inside, then the crisp pass into the centre was superb. He's a different player to Max. He's got bags of much more pace than Max, actually. Even though Max is rapid, Gordon's clearly quicker. And so he doesn't have to have the trickery that Max has got. And that didn't suit the West Ham at all. But even saying that, he still got dragged inside because he had no support on the left-hand side with him. I think he's a really promising player, and I think he can play anywhere along that front three. And I hope to see him next week on the right against Bournemouth. I'll give him an 8 for a phenomenal 20 minutes, really.
Yeah.
Really.
Alex?
Yeah, I'm going to give him an 8 as well. I think if he starts on a 5, he gets a point for that through ball for Wilson that should have been an assist. I think he gets a point for his defensive work, that little shithousery pulling of the shirt and just making sure they didn't get away. It's nice that a young lad identifies the danger, and players like Willock don't do that. And Willock's 2 years older, but Gordon is younger, smelt the danger, boom. He'd make a cheeky foul or contribute defensively. And then an extra point to bump it up to the 8 for just being very rapid and just really, you could see he was really trying to make something happen. He could see that we were a bit flat and devoid of ideas, and he was really, really trying to just provide a bit more energy. But same as what me and Billy have talked about all show, you could put Neymar on that left side. You need a bit of help sometimes. It just doesn't work. Because I'm really frustrated that worried that this might happen to Gordon if he's going to get lots of left wing appearances. They're just going to have to keep cutting inside. They're going to hit a brick wall left, and they're just going to have to cut inside. It's going to get really predictable. Something's got to change.
Yeah. If Target isn't fit, I'd give Lewis a go. I really would. I think he's got to that stage now.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't give Lewis a go.
Well, listen,
I know what you mean, but I wouldn't give Lewis a go.
How good Lewis is. I mean, he just never had a chance, guys, to be honest. Obviously, Murphy and Elliot Anderson, they weren't on for a long period of time. I'm going to give them both a 6. Billy?
I thought they both did pretty well, actually. I thought Murphy especially did pretty well. But again, at the time when they came on, we had proper momentum. And it slightly took away from that when they came on. I think 6 is fair for both. I think Elliot Anderson much the same. I thought he did pretty well when he came on too. Yeah.
Alex?
Yeah, that's fair. I think Murphy's doing that funny thing again where he was crap for ages, and then he went through a phase of being useful and quite decent, and then he's gone really crap again. And now the last 2 substitute appearances, he's looked handy. He's been energetic, useful defensively, not making mistakes. So hopefully this is the start of Murphy coming into a bit of being useful again, because we're going to possibly need him in the next 3 or 4 months. So
I've seen that before from Alex, about Murphy, this little shark fin coming to the top of the water, and then it slowly just starts going. It's got a hole in it, and then slowly starts going backwards. Wes says, F and L, Billy, you had a Castori there was suggesting Lewis at left back. We're not that desperate yet.
No, but to get us attacking properly, we're struggling to score goals. I think we need to get some more creativity from that left-hand side, and Dan Bird isn't providing it with the way he plays left back. So if we get a left back who actually does overlap and got a bit of pace about him, I think it makes us more dangerous in attack. It might make us a bit weaker in defence, but we've got to do something. Yeah.
Right, and finally, Edward Howe. Alex, we'll start with you on Eddie.
I'll give him I think he deserves a 7, but I'm going to give him an 8 because there was a moment where the camera panned to him and he went F and L, Jace. You could see the camera. You could see him say that. It was like 80 odd minutes and it just wasn't working. then you could see him turn to Jason Tyndall and start swearing, because normally he covers his mouth and you can't see him do that. So that was funny. I agree with Billy. I think he made the substitutions. I think he made all of the substitutions at the wrong time, but that's just my personal opinion. I'm not a manager. I think the team selection was, he had to pick that team, really. If he doesn't pick Maxi, then all the media speculation is going to be, oh, he's gone. So he has to pick Maxi. Did he try and change enough in the game? I think an 8's generous. I'm going to go for a 7.
Thank Christ for that. Yeah. Thank you, Alex.
What else is he going to do? He's hamstrung into a lot of this.
Well,
what is he going to do?
Yeah. Alex05, thank you for your £5 super chat. He says, evening, lads. Looked a bit lost yesterday without Bruno. Gordon looking exciting, but we need 3 points against Bournemouth. And Samsonite, thank you for your 50 Danish kroner. He says, Alex, comment of putting Murphy's right foot on Miggy pretty accurately describes Anthony Gordon, in my opinion. Not a bad shout.
Yeah, but I don't think Anthony Gordon has got Miggy's left foot. When Miggy's left foot is awake, it is ridiculous. Let's be honest. We've seen 9 goals from him, and I think 1 was a tap-in and the other 8 were phenomenal, let's be fair. He's still on 9 goals. You can say what you want about Miggy. He's on 9 goals. He's on more than Wilson. So,
yeah. I never ever in a million years did I think on this very channel that I would say that I agreed with the Ranny Granny, right? Never. But the Ranny Granny says, Ashby on the right and move trips to left back to marshal that side if we haven't got a left back. If he's not going to play target, I don't... listen, that might not be a bad move. I know you're shaking hell out, but... Well... He dropped target, didn't he? He left him out for ages. I don't think, I just don't know. You never know. Listen, it's only a suggestion, but I don't necessarily disagree with that. Right, me for Eddie Howe, I'm going to give him a 5. I thought that was probably, I was disappointed yesterday. I was disappointed with the way he just didn't change the game. He brought the substitutions that he made. I mean, Gordon for Maxi was a given anyway. I would have made that change at half time. To be quite honest, I would have given Anthony Gordon 45 minutes because it was clear that Maxi wasn't playing very well. I also think what we've already discussed, those 2 substitutions, I did not understand. And I'm getting a bit pissed off with the same sub over and over again, Miggy for Murphy. It's all, and I know you can say, well, he's got nobody on the bench. Well, don't change it then. Just... There's no need to bring Murphy on sometimes. Miggy yesterday was getting into the game. He was doing really well. He was starting to create a few chances, and he hauls them off. And you can see that it's starting to get to Miggy as well. It frustrates me all the time. And yes, I agreed with Elliot Anderson coming on, but like Billy said, it should have been 10 minutes earlier. So didn't quite get things right, in my opinion, yesterday. And I'm giving them a 5. Anthony Martin, thank you for your £5 super chat. Thank you so much. Paulo Guavea says, love your show. We need to start risking more attacks and maybe lose a few more games. And another of these draws could be wins. You can have 38 draws and be bottom of the table, being unbeaten. It means shite all. I think we are drawn too many games. There's no doubt about it. Billy, Eddie Howe.
I agree with everything you've said. I think the in-game management wasn't very good. I think if you're going to make the Elliot Anderson and Murphy substitution, make it 10 minutes earlier when we weren't on top. When we were on top, I didn't see the point in doing it. I thought we would have won the game if we kept on with that system and the players that we had on at the time. I think he's been seriously hamstrung by the transfer policy, though, and I can't really blame him for that. He's got 14 players that he can use, that he trusts. And I don't think that's his fault necessarily. I don't know. In fact, I'm certain it's not. I think 5's harsh. I think 7 is generous. I'll give him a 6.
Okay. Fair enough. Middle of the road. So because of that, we have to go with a 6 because Alex went 7. I went 5. Billy's gone 6. Middle of the road is a 6. So there we go. Right. There you go, guys. That is it for the review show. Now, tomorrow night, these two don't know this yet, but tomorrow night, it's a Q&A, right? So you get your chance to ask me, Alex, or Billy anything you want to get to know us within reason. And I mean that. No stupid questions, okay? if you want to get to know the hosts a bit more, please, you can ask questions live on the show, or you can send them in preparation for the show. Send me them via email. The email address is at the bottom of the description for this show, or you can contact me on Instagram. Instagram, yes. Message me on Instagram or message me on Twitter, and you'll get the questions. So if you want to know us a bit better, it's Q&A time. Just to say thank you to you lot for getting us above 17K. I feel like, if we do a Q&A every now and again, it gets the new subscribers involved as well. And, you get to know us a bit better. So fire away your questions, either email or on social media or live on the show tomorrow night. We start at 8 o'clock. And, I can't think of a better way to sort of celebrate 17K. So we'll go all in and we'll do a Q&A. Which I'm sure a lot of people will be very much looking forward to asking some questions. Was Billy a party animal in his youth? Of course he was. Was Alex a raving alcoholic in his teens? Of course he was. But he's improved himself. He's got himself a James Bond villain beard, Superman hair. There you go. So you can ask us anything you want, guys, tomorrow night within reason, of course. Anth Martin, thank you very much for another 20 quid super chat. He says, I'm addicted to TTR. It's the best. It's affecting my saucy life so much that I went out jogging in flip-flops just to remember the sound. Keep up the good work, guys and girls. Dan Botman is amazing, isn't he, Paul? Yes, he is. He bloody is. Thank you very much, Anth. Much appreciated, Buddy. Right, that is it. I want to thank the mods tonight. Rachel and Susan have been doing a fabulous job. Once again, keeping the chat nice and flowing. So thank you very much to those two. Thank you to Alex and Billy for the company tonight. And thank you to you guys out there. Absolutely incredible again. Thank you so much for your super chats. Remember, you can become a member of the channel if you wish. Just hit the join sign right underneath this video. Come and be a member, win some prizes. Don't forget to hit that like button before you leave, guys. It is really, really important. And of course, the subscription button. Come and be part of the community if you like what you see. And hit that notification bell as well, which will let you know when we go live, upload, or schedule in a show. But thank you very much for watching, guys. We will see you at 8 o'clock tomorrow night for the Q&A. There will be a recorded video if there's any news to bring you from the club, from myself. But until tomorrow night live, guys, enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. Good night.
How are the lads and lasses?